Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steven Fawn, and on behalf of Carahsoft Technology Corporation, I would like to welcome you to our Liquidware and 10sig webinar. Before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about Carahsoft. We are a trusted government IT solutions provider delivering software and support solutions to federal, state, local, education, and healthcare customers. Carahsoft maintains dedicated teams to support sales and marketing for all of our vendors. Our contact information will be at the end of the presentation, so please do not hesitate to call or email us for any of your needs. And again, this webinar is being recorded and a copy of the presentation will be emailed to you. I'd now like to introduce our speakers for today's presentation, John Flatbush, who is the Director of Federal Sales, and Greg Peck, who is the Senior Solutions Architect at Liquidware, as well as Ed Richardson, who is the Head of Technical Services, and Ben Burris, who is the Director of Federal Sales at 10sig Technology. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our first presenter of the day, Ben. And Ben, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that an awful lot. Thanks, everyone. My name is Ben Burris. I'm Director of Federal Sales. My team is Ed Richardson. Ed Richardson wears many, many hats within our company. He is Head of Technical Services, but he's also our engineer for our services for our federal customers. Alana Dyer is our inside sales manager. And with that, we'll get started. Next slide, please. Tenzig works with Liquidware very closely. They do an add-on to our endpoints that help. Let me say it like this: that helps you monitor the performance of the equipment, not only the virtual machine, but also the connection to the Zero client. Next slide, please. Tenzig delivers secure, standard for desk as a service, software as a service, VDI, and web apps. We're an endpoint-only company. This is what we do. And I want to talk a little bit deeper about that in just a moment. Next slide, please. Tenzig was founded in 2003. We were formerly called Bossa Nova. We are focused completely on endpoints. That is endpoints for Blast, PCYP, for Citrix, for Amazon Cloud, for Azure Cloud, AVD, and many, many other different connection agents. This is the only thing we do. We're headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona. Our engineers are English speaking, and all of our software is written in Phoenix as well. Tenzig is heavily involved with the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and many, many intel agencies as well. We have deployments on Big Air Force, on SIPR, NIPR, and JWICs, Army, and U.S. Navy as well. Next slide, please. Again, my name is Ben Burris. I'm presenter for Tenzig. Ed Richardson is going to talk in terms of the technical aspect of our company. And again, Alana Dyer is our federal sales support specialist. Next slide. One of the things I want to talk about, and this is one of our most important slides here, and I'm going to go in pretty good detail what we actually bring to the table. This is what sets Tenzig apart from other companies. When you buy an endpoint, everyone delivers an endpoint with a 3-year warranty. That's standard and everything else. And most companies do have a console to manage the firmware and software updates that are required for a VDI solution to work well. What Tenzig does is what we bring is free management software. Our support for our management software is free. Our firmware is free. The updates is free. The consultation that you may need to help work through a software update or something that you're having difficulty with is free. And that is what we do. And it's our engineers are VMware certified, they are Citrix certified, they are Microsoft certified, and many, many other different protocols. We're USA based. USA, our equipment is TA compliant, and our support again is right there in Phoenix, Arizona, and we're on typically Arizona time, which is East Coast time for right now. Next slide, please. When we talk about our products, the thing that's important to understand is we make something that will fit what you're trying to do. We have quad monitor, zero clamps that can be copper or fiber. We have dual monitor, zero clamps, thin clamps that can be copper or fiber. Our equipment for the Department of Defense is all TA compliant. We have very, very powerful units to to the ones that they're doing just a single app to try to fit the budget. Our equipment is ForcePoint certified. We have certain devices that have been through ForcePoint certified. Be aware that ForcePoint now is EverFox. They have changed their name. They're split into two different companies. VMware, one of the things that is very, very important to understand in a VMware Blast PCOIP deployment is that VMware takes all of our equipment and they certify each unit to work with VMware. This is very, very important from a standpoint that if there's something going on and someone needs to talk, they know that our equipment works because they have taken our equipment and certified its operation. Not everyone has done that, but that's one thing that we've done. The other thing that's important from a Department of Defense that's very, very important is the fact that we have incorporated 90-meter middleware into our firmware. And what's important about that is for big Army, big Air Force, and big Navy, cat card authentication, which is a huge issue for virtually anyone trying to do this type of equipment. 90-meter is the thing, it is the secret sauce that makes cat card authentication work perfectly. This has been the probably the one thing that has made Tenzing very, very successful. Another thing I'd like to talk about would be our lead times. And because of one thing that we do that's a little bit different. Most companies build on what's called demand. They build on demand, they get a purchase order, and that's when they start production. That is not how Tenzing does production. What Tenzing does is we look at our production is based on a past performance. So what we do is we look at what we sold last year, what we expect to sell this year, plus the growth expectation, and that's how we do our production, and that is based on our past performance plus what the expectation is. Next slide, please. We make a product also called RepurpOS. Some people shorten the name up to RPOS. RPOS is a product that is free. It is used if you move in the direction with Tenzing for a VDI deployment, or you're doing a cloud deployment, whatever that deployment may look like. This software takes any x86 chipset unit that will and turns it into a thin client that works under the Tenzing management console. That's very, very important because it then gives you one single pane of glass to kind of manage everything. That's the kind of the purpose of our purpose. It is free. We can get you copies to start testing right away. Another thing is we're doing is we give RPOS away so that people can get a look and feel very quickly of how Tenzing firmware works. Next slide, please. The Tenzing management console is probably the key to our success because it is simply free. And this has been kind of a thing throughout the industry where subscription costs is something that everyone has to worry about, and especially during times of where budgets haven't been passed for the Department of Defense, Department of Energy, and so forth, and they go into sequestration. It's very, very nerve-wracking. When you buy 10-zig equipment, you get the 10-zig manager console. It is free. There is no subscription cost to anything we sell. It is all free. The 10-zig management is a very, very robust software. Ed Richardson will take us into a much deeper dive here shortly, but it's used basically to deliver firmware updates. It's delivered configuration updates. It's used to manage RepurpOS, our PeakOS, Windows IoT, our NOS software. It's used to, it has a secure connector enabling the remote management for our different firmwares. Again, the firmware is NOS, PeakOS, and RepurpOS. The one thing I'd like to mention too, I mentioned earlier that RPOS will work on any x86 chipset. To understand what an x86 chipset is, x86 is a chipset with two subs. One is AMD and the other one is Intel. The definition is that anything that is a Linux kernel or full operating system or a Microsoft kernel or full operating system will run on an x86 chipset. So that's the requirement for RPOS to work. So that's a good thing. Next slide, please. John, I believe it's your time.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. Welcome again, everyone. Again, I'm John Flatbush. I'm going to cover the digital employee experience solutions from Liquidware. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background about Liquidware. We were founded in 2009 by industry experts, so those that were already working in the virtualization space. Our company is headquartered in Chicago. We also have developers in the Atlanta area, and we're a privately held company, and our support is provided here out of the US. That's important. Of course, we provide support across from East Coast to West Coast, as well as around the globe. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our sales team. The best way to reach us would be fed@liquidware.com. Again, I'm John Flatbush. Speaking in just a few moments will be Greg Peck, our Senior Solutions Architect. Other members of our team include Michelle Valentine, our Business Development Manager, as well as Susan Anthony, who's also one of our other sales members. Next slide, please. Oop. So a little bit about the customers that we currently work with. In our federal space, we work with all of the branches of service: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, etc. Some of the commands that we work with include Stratcom, Army Cyber, etc. So the importance of this, of course, is like Ben mentioned, we're TAA compliant as well, and we work across all networks. So across all of our customers, we work on NIPR, SIPR, JWIC, so we meet the security requirements necessary to run on all those different networks. So you can be assured that you can run all of our solutions on whatever network you need to. Next slide, please. So what are Liquidware solutions? So Liquidware solutions included 4 areas. One is our profile management with Profile Unity. That's our user environment management, which allows us to manage the user settings within the environment and deliver those settings from one desktop to another. Now, all of our solutions are supported across virtual, physical, and cloud desktops. Our second component is our Flex App piece, which is our application portability. It allows us to deliver applications dynamically to the user's desktop. Third component is Stratosphere UX. Stratosphere UX allows us to monitor the user's experience on the desktop and the endpoint. So Greg and we'll be talking about how Stratosphere works with 10-zig here in just a moment. and how we can monitor not only the virtual desktop for the users, but also the endpoints. And then we also have command control, which allows you to provide real-time remediation for desktops as well. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about Stratosphere, some of the capabilities that it has. First and foremost, Stratosphere is a pioneer in the digital employee experience scoring. We've been doing this for over 10 years and monitor the user's experience on the desktop and actually score it based upon a number of different metrics. We also work across different platforms, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, as well as endpoints such as Tenzig. We can monitor the performance of those and tie them all together, as you'll hear in just a little bit. Stratosphere provides visibility into the environment for the users, our administrators, for all levels of help desk support as well. One of the areas that help desk finds very useful is our login process details. So we provide a very granular look at the login process for users and can show what may be negatively impacting the user's login and how long those impacts are taking. Reports on endpoint connectivity. So we monitor the latency from the endpoint, so we can see what endpoint the user is connecting from with Stratosphere, see the latency for the whatever display protocol is being utilized, and correlate the end user's endpoint to that desktop. In addition, with the plugin for Tenzig, we can also show the performance of the endpoint as well. All of this information that we collect with Stratosphere can be accessed via our web console as well as via our extensive reports. There are over 300 reports included within Stratosphere that provide information about the endpoints as well as the performance of the desktops and the applications. Next slide, please. So a little bit more on the Stratosphere visibility into the user experience on the desktop. We provide end-to-end visibility, as I've alluded to already, from the endpoint to the desktop to the applications and even beyond. So on the application side, we can even see what those applications are connecting to, what backend IP address, and see the latency to that application. So from the first mile of the endpoint all the way to what the desktops are communicating with in the background. Our data is all user-centric, so we focus around the user's experience, what's impacting the user, whether that be display protocol latency to application latency, etc. And we can do this at a macro level or a micro, so we can see across the entire environment how things are performing all the way down to the individual user. So this provides valuable information for the engineering team on the back end for operations, as well as first-tier support. Next slide, please. A little bit about how Tenzig and Liquidware combined. As you can see here on this diagram, there is a plugin on the Tenzig device, our operating system for Stratosphere, where we collect the performance data about that endpoint, that device, and it is reported back up to Stratosphere. In addition to that, we collect similar data from the desktops and application servers as well with Stratosphere, so that we can see, again, the endpoint as well as the desktops and how they're performing and correlate the two. And again, this works across environments, whether it's a private cloud, a VMware environment, Citrix, Microsoft, it doesn't matter. Next slide. And I think at this point, we'll turn it over to Ed and Greg to take you through a technical deep dive on how the two work together.
All right. Thank you, John. So what we see here in this slide is a picture of our Tenzig manager. We can see how the Liquidware integration works inside of the Tenzig manager. The portion on the right of your screen is the simplicity of the Liquidware interface in any of your Tenzig firmware. All of our Tenzig hardware devices, whether they're our laptop form factor, our desktop form factor, or our all-in-one form factor, are all able to run this same firmware. So your user experience across the board is going to be identical no matter what type of 10-zig device you're using. The addition of the Liquidware plugin into that 10-zig device now allows you to push data out to the Stratosphere product so that you guys can see everything that's taking place between your 10-zig infrastructure and your VDI backend, as well as on your VDI desktops. The image that we have here is a portrayal of your 10-zig manager screen, your configuration for an individual client, and then the configuration of the Liquidware add-on itself, all from a single pane of glass, giving you complete information about your endpoint at a high level. What we can see in this image too, in the blue circle, is that we're able to display to you the amount of storage and the amount of RAM in these devices at a high level as a total.
Hey, Ed, can the 10-zig manager monitor any of the normal performance metrics like RAM utilization or anything like that while the user is in its in the VDI session?
You know what? We don't do that in the 10-zig manager. And the reason for that is because we have great partners like Liquidware that will give our end users significant visibility into their VDI workspaces. We don't need to do that at the high level because you guys are the professionals at that.
Awesome, and it looks really easy to configure. You just kind of put your hub address in there and you hit go. I think the device has got to be rebooted, and then it talks back to our hub.
That is absolutely accurate. It's just a matter of putting that hub address in there, bouncing the box, and it comes back up and it'll start talking into the hub.
And so we're going to talk about how Stratosphere assists admins with understanding the performance of their 10-zig hardware today. You sent me a 10-zig device. What did you send over to the lab?
I did. I sent you a 7072Q thin client. It's our newest model, our flagship device. And Stratosphere here can help administrators, I can say that word. They can help administrators to identify all of the hardware types, all of the add-ons that are on the device. You can get it with an Ethernet plug or on wireless. By the way, which did you do? I know we sent you a wireless device.
Well, I ran out of Ethernet, so I went wireless.
Great.
Now, what kind of brokers can I connect that to? I connected it to Horizon, but what else do you offer?
We do everything. We do VMware Horizon, we do Citrix, we do AVD, Windows 365, we do Leo Stream, we do Amazon Workspace, Parallels, on and on. There is a host of endpoints and brokers that we can connect to. We even do PuTTY.
That's pretty cool. I also really like the inventory page that's up here on the screen because it tells me what version of that hardware that I'm running, the version of your guys' firmware, plus the version of our add-on.
Yes, absolutely. It's a pretty cool view. I like it. It gives you one easy pane of glass where you can see absolutely everything that's going on within the protocols. You can see over here easily that this one's using the BLAST protocol. And you can even in the bottom corner there see the user logging in with our Horizon client. This one, for instance, is using the BLAST protocol here, and you can see that very easily.
I don't know that our screen got updated. Can we get the next slide? Because there we go. There's the BLAST protocol.
Sorry, I was one up ahead of you.
That's all right. That's what happens when neither one of us are controlling the screen. Yeah, so this view here is the VDI connections view. I configured this view just to go look at the remote display protocol. I wanted to see when the user session started. I wanted to see what remote machine they were coming in from, and also the VDI machine itself.
Excellent. You can do this with other protocols too, right?
Yep, we can look at ICA, RFX, RDP, piece over IP, Digion frame. If it's a display protocol, we can probably look at it, even including HP Anywhere.
Excellent.
So taking a deeper look into the VDI performance, I've changed this view to look at the virtual desktop. I've also added the 10-zig endpoint as well, but I can see the user, I can see what we call the UX score, which is a numbered score of how the user's experience is, which is fully configurable. I can see a lot of information here, including CPU used and disk queue and disk space, all the stuff that impacts a user's performance on a on that VDI session.
Excellent. You can see all the issues here. And what's all that red all over the page? It looks like the CPU's at what, 45 to 60% over there.
Yeah, I was really trying to push things. There was an online benchmark that I think I was running at that point in time, and it got up to 60% CPU in the VDI. But I wanted to see what it would do through the 7072.
Excellent. This is pretty cool, but what's that GDI objects column on the far right?
So that GDI objects over there, that's the graphics device interface objects. We put that in there because sometimes we can find different memory leaks that are actually happening. It's also nice to know when an OS is trying to use a offline graphics card, even when it doesn't have one. Some applications within Windows will try to use that, and if it's trying to use it and doesn't have that dedicated graphics card, there may be some problems.
Excellent. So looking at this is kind of an overall view, but you can focus Stratosphere on the Tenzing too, right?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at that. So here we're focusing on the endpoint. This is that 7072 you sent me. As I said earlier, I have this set up with a wireless connection. And in this view, you can see that we are ordered with the lowest UX score on top. I'm guessing it's something to do with the IO bandwidth and the CPU queue. In our environment, we have things turned down a lot. This would normally still be green in everybody else's environment. But you can really see the CPU of the actual physical machine, the actual memory being used. And even since I have it on wireless, I'm able to see how far away that is from the AP. At one point in time, you can see there with the arrow that it jumped to a different access point in the office that was about 18 meters away, or 18 meters further away than the one it actually was using. And the Wi-Fi channel also went down along with the strength. And you can see that all within the Stratosphere interface.
That's pretty cool. You can also see the performance of the CPUs, the CPU queues, and the percentage of memory used. This goes back to that high-level view in the manager that you guys can dive deeper into here in Stratosphere. With tools like Stratosphere, we don't really need to add that kind of information into the Tenzing manager because Stratosphere looks like it does a great job of collecting and displaying the numbers directly from our Tenzing hardware.
Yeah, we like to think so. And the partnership between us has been strong, and it will continue to grow. I know I'm helping some developers add some more stuff to this.
Excellent. This is great stuff. Ben and John, I think we've shown a good bit about the synergies between Tenzing and Liquidware. Can you guys take care of wrapping us up here?
Sure. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate your input. Appreciate a very thorough go over of the technologies and how we work together. And we will continue to do that. Right now, I think the best thing is to let John finish up, and we'd like to see if there's any questions with the audiences that we may try to answer for them. John,
thanks, Ben. I would agree. Let's open it up to questions from the audience. Stephen, do we have any questions?
Yeah, I see a couple coming in now. The first question would be for either teams. How well do your devices integrate with leading VDI solutions like VMware, Citrix, and Microsoft?
I think I can take the first piece of that. The Tenzing solution, we are completely agnostic to your VDI backend. We work with just about anything that's out there. We have everything from VMware, Citrix, and Microsoft, the big three, all the way down to Frame, AWS, Parallels, 2X, bunch of different protocols that may be less popular, but still have a significant following in our customer base. Greg?
Yeah, Stratosphere is agnostic. That's the key word that you used as well. We can monitor Windows, Mac, Linux. We can monitor your endpoints. We can monitor other ThinOS endpoints. And so Stratosphere, we just plug right in. We have a appliance that you download, and then you can put an agent on all those OSs and immediately start getting data.
Nice. It looks like we have a couple more questions. This one is asking, how does your solution integrate with our existing IT infrastructure, including hardware and software?
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, sure, I can take that. So integration into existing environment. Stratosphere is extremely easy to bring into your environment to test with or to roll out. You download a single appliance. That appliance can work on multiple different hypervisors. There is an agent that gets then rolled out to your endpoints. And those endpoints can be VDI, they can be physical workstation, and you'll immediately start getting data within the first hour or two.
Excellent. On the Tenzing side of things, our solution is kind of a standalone piece of your environment. If you are on any of the VDI platforms, all you need to do is to install our Tenzing Manager into your environment so that you can manage your endpoints. Our devices are manageable, whether they're on your network, off your network, wherever they happen to live, and those can all be controlled, configured, and managed through that Tenzing Manager product in order to connect into your network.
Nice. Another question, how does your solution improve end user experience and productivity?
The Tenzing solution improves the user experience by giving you better performance and less overhead for your back-end administrators. The Tenzing Manager makes a really easy product. It installs in 5 minutes. You can get it up and running and have the entire ecosystem bound to your environment in under 1 hour and be up and productive in that point in time. Greg?
And from a Stratosphere side, we can so we can manage and actually monitor that OS and that user experience. It's really easy to set up. Within an hour or two, you have it going on, and you're getting data to actually monitor that user experience, and administrators can take action on the data that they're able to see, and that's at a user level or a full environment level as well.
Nice. We got another question in the chat. What kind of statement or volatility do you have for non-PC OIP solutions? Can repurpose be used for bring your own device situations that can be booted of removal media, or is it required to be used as a more permanent installation on the x86 device?
I can answer both of those. We do offer statements of volatility for all of our devices. So none of our devices hold any local information at all. Everything is wiped through a reboot. When you say non-PC over IP solutions, I assume you mean non-Teradata hardware. So all of our x86-based thin and zero clients, we have the full statement of volatility for all of those available to you. If you email in to either myself or to Ben, we can get you that information through an email. On the repurpose product, that can be used absolutely for bring your own device. You can boot it straight off of the USB stick, and you can use it as a thin client on a stick, move it between devices. Your configuration settings that you build in it will save onto that stick so that when you take it to the next device, all of your VDI connections are already there. You do always have the opportunity, however, to install that into that x86 device. So if you have old Windows PCs that you want to repurpose, you can install it as a permanent thin client, and it then becomes part of the Tenzing ecosystem. If you don't, and you simply want to use it for a period of time, you can just boot live off the stick, do your thing, and pull that stick when you're done and go on about your day.
And then we had one more question come through the Q&A pod. Is the appliance STIG compliant, or is there an SRG?
So the Stratosphere appliance, STIG compliant, there isn't a STIG for us, but what we do is offer enhanced security mode, and that handles or applies a lot of the STIGs for everything that we can do. A lot of the things that are in a normal Linux-based OS, we've turned off or even removed. We have appliances on highest classifications of different networks, and we've even been told that it's one of the strongest black box appliances out there after enhanced security mode is turned on.
I would say
From
one
the
thing else.
10
I'm sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Ben.
I would say one thing about Tenzig, and this question gets asked an awful lot, like for our Zero clients, the firmware is so thin and everything has been stripped out of it. It typically does not need to be stigged. It passes that test that they run. There's not anything on there that flags, so it's a good thing. Typically, our Zero client does not need to be stigged because there's no running on it. If you run a thin client, however, in some cases those may have to be stigged. But a Zero client, it literally just passes the scan, and everybody's pretty happy with it. Go ahead, Ed.
Yes, that is a thing. Also, on the Tenzig manager side, the manager server typically that this is installed into in its current iteration is going to be Windows Server. And that Windows Server is STIG compliant in most applications. So you can STIG the server, you install the application onto it, everybody goes home happy. We also do support FIPS mode as well. So if you do have a need to run FIPS mode and or applying your STIGs to the server device that this is installed on, you can absolutely do that. As Ben alluded to, the majority of our customers, they use Nessus, they do scans against the devices. Those are able to be on those networks. Again, just as Greg mentioned, we're on some of the highest security networks in the US.
Nice. And then we just have a couple more questions, just two left. What is the typical timeline for deployment and full integration of your solutions?
Greg, you want to run with that?
Sure, because I think you answered it earlier. Yours is what, 5 minutes? I know I did mine in about 5 or 10. But yeah, I mean, yours is easy to do. Ours is similarly simple. Ours is you deploy the appliance. It takes 10, 15 minutes. Within an hour, you have the first SID actually out there bringing back an inventory. And then an hour after that, you're actually getting real performance data off of that. The biggest problem that we run into is because you're making a change to all those other endpoints by installing the agent, have to go through change control. But the actual infrastructure for a 500 seat or less is only one appliance, and it's really easy to set up.
One thing else to note as well is a lot of people, they're especially since the pandemic and so forth, have been waiting for equipment. That's not what Tenzig does. We do not, again, build on demand. And typically we have product on our flagship models. We have product ready to ship. So when you're ready to start trying to stand things up, having product there is a very, very important part. And the reason why if you order from Tenzig, that you will get product is that we do not build on demand. We build on past performance plus what the expectation is for the following year. So typically, although sometimes we get these great big orders that kind of wipe everything out, but typically we ship within just a few weeks. That's a huge statement.
Nice.
Thanks,
and the last question of the day would be, what levels of technical support and customer service do you offer?
From the Tenzig side of things, you can call into our help desks. We have trained and certified technicians on duty all of the time. The person who answers the phone, and this is really kind of a departure away from a lot of the other vendors, especially in the tier 1 space. The person who answers the phone at our help desk is the guy that's going to fix your stuff. You know, we're going to answer the phone, ask you what equipment you're working on, get into the problem immediately rather than putting you into a phone queue or handing you off to 2 or 3 different levels of people to try to get information from you. And we're going to begin solving your problem right now. This allows you to spend less time on the phone with us and more time doing what you're supposed to be doing in support of the country and getting to where you need to go. Greg?
Yeah, similarly, our support is a phone call away or an email away. It's quick and easy to do, and standard support, everybody gets the same support. So yeah, really good support, and 95% of the calls get closed on the first time, I think. So the guys on that desk are really, really good at what they do. And you know, the guy that you talk to first is the guy that's going to close the case, just like you guys.
Excellent.
I would add one more thing in regards to support. From a 10-zig deployment only, typically you don't need an on-site person to fix 10-zig equipment. And here's the reason why. Number one, you're only talking maybe out of 1,000 users, maybe one guy, 1 or 2 people are having a problem for whatever reason. If there is a difficulty there, you call in. You would do this even if you had on-site support. You would call in, you would ask for someone to come out, blah, 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 blah. But what we do is very typical. Our engineers are extremely smart. They're extremely intelligent, and they're very proactive. And what happens is, if they can't fix the problem, we just go ahead and send you a brand new device, typically in just a day or 2, and then off to the races you go. So that's kind of our support model, and it works very, very well because who we are. Not ours is independent of the stack. Obviously, if you're a server company and you're a storage company, obviously you need someone on like 24 hours. 4 hours, and all of that. But with the 10-zig equivalent, that's not going to be required. So, and the way we try to do our deployments is we ask folks when they're so that it makes it easy for them. And because of the way our warranty and our software is free, our warranty, our software support is free. They usually buy 4 or 5 extra units just to stick on a shelf, and they just pop it into place, and off to the races they go. And then we forward replace the other one, and everybody's fixed and they're happy. I think that's it. I hope that answers the question in regards to 10-zig support.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you guys for answering all these questions. I just want to put this up there and thank you all for joining us today. And I, of course, want to thank all of our wonderful speakers for being with us this afternoon. We hope this webinar has been helpful for you and your organization. If you have any further questions or would like to request more information, please feel free to contact us via the information on this slide. And again, thank you all for joining us, and have a great day, guys.